65 tennis team. The 65 team won the KVA championships for a record 15th straight year. In singles competition, Fred Mills made it to the finals, where he lost to Bill Becker of Parchment. Greg Wilson and Dan Stewart won the KVA doubles championship. The Rams went on to win the 12th regional title in 15 years. Freshman Tom Wilson faced off against teammate Jeff Jennings in the singles finals. Jeff won that in a 6-4, 7-5 final. In the doubles competition, it was all GA again. Dave Wilson and Fred Mills faced off against Dan Stewart and Greg Wilson. It was Wilson and Mills coming out on top by a 6-4, 6-3 margin. GA finished with 18 3/4 points in the regionals. The second place team, Kellogg, had 2 3/4. In the state tournament, the Rams used their depth to their advantage. They won the state title for the 5th time in GA history. In singles play, Tom Wilson lost in the quarterfinals. Jeff Jennings made it to the semifinals. In doubles competition, it was Greg Wilson and Dan Stewart who made it to the semifinals. They lost to the eventual champions from Grosse Pointe. And Dave Wilson and Fred Mills made it to the finals, where they lost a really tough 6-2, 9-7 match. The Rams finished with 5.5 points, which was 1 point better than second place Grosse Pointe's. At this time, I'll call up the members of the 65 team. Wayne Roloff, Fred Mills, Jeff Jennings, Tom Wilson, Roger Maxson, and Coach Jim Van Zandt.
Okay, I just want to make this comment in regards to the Hall of Fame, the inductions. This is really for many as a once-in-a-lifetime deal, and sometimes things take longer than people would like. Sometimes it just goes. It's just like that. I think that individuals are entitled to, and you people have shown great patience with this, but they should have the right to be able to say what they have to say when they have to say it. And it takes longer time than what sometimes we think it should. Bear with us. I'd like to introduce I'm going to name all of the members of the 65 team. The team members are Jim Green, Jack Hogg, Tom Smith, Bill Lamine, Greg Wilson, Greg Townsend, Bob Maxson, Roger Maxson, Dave Wilson, Tom Wilson, Dan Stewart, Fred Mills, Wayne Roloff, Dana Fry, and Jeff Jennings. Before I go to some of these individuals, I would like to mention this. In 1941, John Caldwell, who many people here know, 1941, he came to Augusta as a teacher. He lived in Battle Creek. He was in Augusta from 1941 through 1950. He taught. He was the principal of the school in Augusta. He was a very good teacher, and he started tennis in Augusta for people in that community, the kids in school at that time. In 1951, Galesburg and Augusta joined together as a consolidated school district. Many people here do not know that. I've been asked, I don't know how many times, what year did Galesburg and Augusta get together to join as a consolidated school district? It was 1951. Now, just before that happened, this wasn't a cut and dry deal. This was a new thing. Joining communities together. Each community had kindergarten through 12th grade schools. And Augusta, for example, was going to give up their high school to join with Galesburg, and that's not an easy thing to do. And there were torchlight parades in Augusta against joining as a consolidated school district. Like I said, it was not a cut and dry thing, but it did happen. And John Caldwell was a teacher there at the time. Now, in 1951, after they consolidated, the very first year of consolidation, the Galesburg-Augusta School District won a state championship in tennis. The very first year that they existed as a school district, 1951. The members of that team, many of them were underclassmen, and so they went, they were still in high school in the years following, and again in 1954, the consolidated Galesburg and Augusta schools, the communities in their school district, won a state championship. John Caldwell was the coach of the Galesburg-Augusta tennis team from 1951 through 1958. At that time, the tennis team was begun to be coached by Dick Hendershot, the gentleman that was just up here with the 1961 team. Now, Dick Hendershot played #1 singles at Western Michigan University when he was in college. Now, that's not an easy thing to do because Western Michigan was a tennis power in the Mid-American Conference during that period of time. And he played #1 singles when he was in college. He came here as a 6th grade teacher. He taught 2 years in Galesburg. And then he became principal of the junior high in Augusta. And in 1960, that was the first year I taught school. I taught 6th grade at Augusta, and he was the principal of the kindergarten through 8th grade unit in Augusta at that time. And as I mentioned before, Charlie Coggins told me that principals couldn't be coaches, and so he asked me if I'd be interested in coaching the tennis team. That's how that happened. Okay. Now, he coached the high school tennis team, Dick Hendershot, from 1959, 1960, 1961. In 1962, that was the first year that I coached. I want to thank John Caldwell, who started tradition at Galesburg and Augusta in regards to tennis. Tennis, in a lot of schools, individuals who had athletic talent, a lot of times did not play tennis. Now that's a fact. Galesburg and Augusta, tennis was never frowned on. Young men and young ladies also that liked tennis, they played tennis and they were looked up to by their peers, by those their same age. Tennis was always looked at in Galesburg and Augusta as a sport that had some value, that it was a sport, and it was a tough game to play. And I knew that when I was in high school because John Caldwell, as I mentioned before, encouraged me to play the game, and which I did, and I'm glad I did. And I'm glad I came here to coach tennis when I did. And I coached 11 years, which is the combined length of time that John Caldwell and Dick Hendershot coached tennis at Galesburg Augusta. So we're 22 years, from 1951 through 1972. The three of us coached tennis in these two communities, and all of us loved it. We all did. Now, the gentlemen that are up here now, you know, I look at them and I see them as junior high kids. I see them as high school kids. You know, they're not, it's really kind of neat because they've been everywhere. You know, they've done things that are wonderful. Anyway, what I like at this time, those individuals, any of you that want to say something about your experience in the community or at school or having to do with tennis, anybody have it besides Fred?